Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Nishit Kumar and with me is Renuka with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a high-level meeting on Ukraine situation. 9th Operation Ganga flight reaches New Delhi from Bucharest, Romania. An Indian student killed in shelling in Kharkiv, Ukraine this morning. External Affairs Ministry conveys condolence to the family. Government issues fresh advisory for Indians to leave Kyiv urgently. Union Minister General V.K. Singh reaches Poland to aid the evacuation of Indian citizens in Ukraine. In Uttar Pradesh, campaigning for the 6th phase of assembly elections ends voting on the 3rd of March. In Manipur, electioneering in full swing for the last phase of assembly elections on the 5th of March. Government invites applications for the National Startup Awards 2022 across 17 sectors and 7 special categories. And Mahashivrathi is being celebrated across the country with religious fervour. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greet the people on the occasion. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and get fully vaccinated and also help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask. Maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meeting on Ukraine issue in Delhi this evening. This was the 3rd such meeting convened by the Prime Minister. Union Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Piyush Goyal, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla and NSA Ajit Doval were among those who attended the meeting. Yesterday, Mr. Modi chaired a high-level meeting to review the ongoing efforts under Operation Ganga to bring back Indians stranded in Ukraine. The Prime Minister said that the entire government machinery is working round the clock to ensure that all Indian nationals are safe and secure. In order to scale up the ongoing evacuation efforts under Operation Ganga, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for the Indian Air Force to join the evacuation efforts. According to sources, leveraging the capacities of our Air Force will ensure that more people can be evacuated in a shorter time frame. It will also help deliver humanitarian aid more efficiently. The Indian Air Force is likely to deploy several C-17 aircraft as part of the Operation Ganga from today. The 9th Operation Ganga flight has reached New Delhi from Bucharest, Romania. It was carrying 218 Indian nationals.
A flight carrying Indian nationals stranded in Ukraine arrived in Delhi from Hungary. Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia received the returnees and assured them that the Government of India is making every effort to rescue all Indians stranded in Ukraine. Dr. Mandavia tweeted pictures with the returnees. 4 Tripura students out of 32 total have reached India and 13 others safely crossed the borders from Ukraine. Top officials said that the Tripura government has so far received a list of 32 students and the evacuation process is underway. Exuding confidence among the parents, Tripura Chief Secretary said that there are no reasons to worry as the Government of India is making arrangements to bring them back as soon as possible. Detailing about the students, he said there were 8 students from South Tripura district stuck in Ukraine, but all of them had safely crossed the borders. The Indian Embassy in Romania today assured Indian students evacuated from Ukraine that no visa is required to exit Romania by special flights. The assurance came after it received queries from Indian students evacuated from Ukraine and presently in shelters in Romania that they may not be able to leave after some days due to visa requirements. Embassy of India in Kyiv, Ukraine has advised all Indian nationals, including students, to leave Kyiv urgently today. Tweeting about it, it said they should do it preferably by available trains or through any other available means.
Union Minister of State for Civil Aviation, General Retired V.K. Singh, has reached Poland to oversee the evacuation efforts of Indian nationals stranded in Ukraine. After reaching there, he met a group of Indian students staying at a Gurudwara at Warsaw in Poland. Yesterday, the government had taken the decision to send special envoys comprising union ministers to 4 neighbouring nations of Ukraine. Besides General V.K. Singh, the other union ministers are Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia, Law Minister Kiran Rijiju, Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Puri. These special envoys will coordinate and oversee the evacuation process on the ground. An Indian student has lost his life in shelling in Kharkiv, Ukraine this morning. In a series of tweets, the External Affairs Ministry conveyed its deepest condolences to the family. The ministry said it is in touch with his family. Official sources said India had already taken up with the Russian and Ukrainian embassies and pressing requirement of safe passage for the Indian nationals, including students from Kharkiv and other cities in conflict zones. This demand has been repeatedly made of Russia and Ukraine since the beginning of this conflict on the 24th of February. The sources also said it is imperative that Russia and Ukraine respond to India's need for safe passage urgently. From the Indian side, the preparations for evacuation have been in place for some time now. An Indian team has been positioned in the Russian city of Belgorod, close to the Ukrainian border. However, the conflict situation in and around Kharkiv and nearby cities has been an obstacle. In places where the conflict has not endangered movement, India has been able to evacuate its citizens. Sources also said that more than 9,000 Indian nationals have been brought out of Ukraine, while a considerable number are now in safer areas. Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has condoled the death of Karnataka-based student Naveen Gyanagowda in Ukraine due to shelling. He called the father, Shekhar Gowda, over phone and expressed his grief over the death of his son Naveen in war-ravaged Ukraine. Consoling the father over the loss of his son, the Chief Minister assured him of all assistance in bringing the mortal remains to Haveri in Karnataka, where the family resides. Meanwhile, Karnataka state government has deployed officials at Mumbai and New Delhi to assist Karnataka-bound students arriving from Ukraine. The Chief Minister informed that the Indian students stranded in the northeastern part of Ukraine are facing problems, and the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has been requested to make arrangements for their food and shelter and to evacuate them to safety. Since the Romanian border is getting crowded due to the exodus of people from Ukraine, the Chief Minister said that a request is made to the External Affairs Ministry to see to the safety of the Indians stranded there.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today met President Ramnath Kovind at the Rashtrapati Bhavan and briefed him on various issues including Ukraine. Last night, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar apprised the President of the progress of Operation Ganga for the evacuation of Indian nationals including students from Ukraine. Yesterday, Mr. Modi chaired a high-level meeting to review the ongoing efforts under the Operation Ganga to bring back Indians stranded in Ukraine. He said that the entire government machinery is working round the clock to ensure that all Indian nationals there are safe and secure. The Prime Minister pointed that the visit of 4 senior ministers as his special envoys to various nations will energize the evacuation efforts. He said it is reflective of the priority the government attaches to this matter. Guided by India's motto of the world being one family, Mr. Modi also stated that India will help people from neighbouring countries and developing countries who are stranded in Ukraine and may seek assistance. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said today that their cities are now blocked, but defiantly added that his countrymen were fighting for their land and freedom. In a virtual address to the European Parliament on Tuesday, Zelensky said that nobody is going to break them. They are strong, they are Ukrainians. Zelensky urged the European Union to prove that it was on Ukraine's side in its war with Russia. He said he had signed off an official request to join the bloc on Monday. In a Facebook post earlier, he said his key priority was the protection of his capital, Kyiv. He wrote in the post that Kharkiv and Kyiv are currently the most important targets for Russia. He called upon the world to declare that Russia was committing state terrorism. He wanted these perpetrators to be tried in international courts. The European Union has slapped Russia with a barrage of sanctions, also targeting President Vladimir Putin, his top officials, oligarchs supporting him, and the country's central bank.
As Ukrainian crisis deepened, thousands have sought safety in the bordering nations of Poland, Romania, Hungary, Moldova and Slovakia. Long lines of cars and buses were backed up at checkpoints at the borders of these countries. The UN has estimated the conflict could produce as many as 4 million refugees. UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi said that more than 520,000 refugees had fled Ukraine. In Poland, which has reported the most arrivals at more than 280,000, trains continue to bring refugees into the border town of Przemysl. The Polish UN ambassador to the UN, speaking at the General Assembly, said that in addition to Ukrainians, those coming yesterday included people of some 125 nationalities. Germany's Interior Ministry said that 1,800 refugees from Ukraine had arrived by early yesterday, and the number is constantly growing as more trains from Poland are arriving. Thousands of refugees are entering Romania through the border crossing town of Siret. China has begun evacuation of its citizens from Ukraine after initial dilly-dallying as it recalculates the situation due to escalating clashes between Russia and Ukraine. Chinese Foreign Ministry said today that about 1,000 Chinese citizens in Ukraine have by far safely relocated in an effort that began on Monday, 5 days after Russia invaded its neighbor. State media reported that around 1,700 Chinese nationals in Ukraine will be evacuated to Moldova and Poland. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin told the media in Beijing that an emergency mechanism for consular protection had been activated for citizens in Ukraine without elaborating.
FIFA and UEFA have suspended Russian national teams and clubs from all international soccer competitions until further notice. The suspension, which comes after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, will likely leave the Russian team out of the upcoming World Cup in Qatar. The Russian team was due to play Poland in a World Cup qualifying playoff semi-final on 24th of March. FIFA oversees soccer worldwide, while UEFA, one of 6 continental organizations, governs the sport in Europe. Over 177 crore 70 lakh vaccine doses have been administered so far under nationwide vaccination drive. The Health Ministry said over 18,22,000 doses were administered yesterday. The recovery rate is currently at 98.59%. The Delhi government has said that consent of parents for attending offline classes and exams will not be mandatory for students of class 10th and 12th. In its order, the government said, however, the hybrid mode of classes and exams, that is offline as well as online, will continue as earlier for classes up to 9th as well as for classes 11th in schools. It said all classes may go offline with effect from 1st of April.
In Ladakh, the schools are reopening after being closed for COVID control and harsh winters. District Disaster Management Authorities DDMAs of Leh and Kargil have reviewed the prevailing COVID situation before taking the decision to reopen the schools. Kargil DDMA Chairman Santosh Shukdeve has ordered the reopening of all government and private schools and institutions from March 1st for 6th to 12th classes. Similarly, Leh DDMA Chairman Shrikant Suse ordered reopening of schools in Leh district from the 7th of March. In Kargil, rest of the schools up to 5th classes shall reopen from the 11th March onwards. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has said that about 8,600 Jan Aushadhi centers are running in India to provide affordable medicines to everyone. In a tweet, Mr. Mandavia said that to promote this, Jan Aushadhi Week is being celebrated from today to the 7th of March. He added that a Padayatra is also being taken out at 75 places across the country to spread awareness about Jan Aushadhi project and generic medicines. The Health Minister said that lakhs of people buy medicines from these centers at cheap rates. He assured the people that the government is committed to ensure that everyone gets the best and affordable medicines under the scheme.
Campaigning for the 6th phase of Assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh ended this evening. Polling will be held on 3rd of March. The state is going for polls in 7 phases from 10th of February to 7th of March. All political parties are making last-ditch efforts to garner the support of voters. AIR correspondent reports that 57 seats of 10 districts of state will go to poll in the 6th phase of elections. The districts going to polls in this phase are Ambedkar Nagar, Balrampur, Siddharth Nagar, Basti, Gorakhpur, Maharajaganj, Kushinagar, Deoria, Sant Kabir Nagar and Balia. Campaigning has also intensified for the last phase of elections in the state. Senior BJP leaders JP Nadda, Rajnath Singh, Yogi Adityanath and Keshav Prasad Maurya campaigned in different districts of Purvanchal today. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and BSP Chief Mayawati also campaigned for their parties. In Manipur, campaigning for the second phase of assembly polls have intensified, with most of the political parties leaving no stone unturned to woo the voters. 92 candidates are in fray in 22 assembly constituencies of 10 districts of Manipur in the second phase polls. More than 8,38,000 voters will decide the fate of these candidates. The polling will be held on 5th of March at 1,247 polling stations. More from our Imphal correspondent.
Among the 10 districts which polling will be conducted in the second phase, 11 assembly constituencies are in 3 valley districts. The remaining 11 assembly constituencies are spread across 7 hill districts of Manipur. The Naga community-based political party, Naga People's Front, is contesting in 10 seats in hill districts, while BJP fielded its candidates in all assembly constituencies. The political scenario in hill district in Manipur is very different from valley districts. Therefore, all the political parties have been trying their best to woo the voters. Meanwhile, BJP leader Narendra Modi interacted with party workers through video conferencing this morning and appealed to the party workers to get ready for second phase poll. Union Home Minister and BJP leader Amit Shah also arrived in Imphal on a one-day visit to Manipur, and he addressed a political rally in Thawal district today. JJ Thoksom, AIR News, Imphal.
Government has invited applications for the National Startup Awards 2022 across 17 sectors in 7 special categories. Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade has launched the 3rd edition of the National Startup Awards. In line with Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the awards will acknowledge startups and enablers who have been instrumental in revolutionizing the development story of India. The 17 sectors include agriculture, animal husbandry, construction, drinking water, education and skill development, energy, enterprise technology, environment and fintech. A cash prize of 5 lakh rupees will be awarded to each winning startup.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a high-level meeting on Ukraine situation. 9th Operation Ganga flight reaches New Delhi from Bucharest, Romania. An Indian student killed in shelling in Kharkiv, Ukraine this morning. External Affairs Ministry conveys condolence to the family. Government issues fresh advisory for Indians to leave Kyiv urgently. Union Minister General V.K. Singh reaches Poland to aid the evacuation of Indian citizens in Ukraine. In Uttar Pradesh, campaigning for the 6th phase of assembly elections ends, voting on 3rd of March. In Manipur, electioneering in full swing for last phase of assembly elections on 5th of March. Government invites application for National Startup Awards 2022 across 17 sectors and 7 special categories. Mahashivrathi is being celebrated across the country with religious fervour. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greet the people on the occasion. And in shooting, Saurabh Chaudhary clinches India's first gold medal at ongoing International Sport Federation World Cup in Cairo. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे।
Welcome back. You are tuned to the evening news on All India Radio. And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, birth of a nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Vasantdada Patil, who died on the 1st of March 1989.
Born on 13th November 1917 in Sangli of Maharashtra, Vasantdada Patil was highly influenced by Sardar Patel and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. While he believed in the Gandhian philosophy of Satyagraha, he also believed that Satyagraha, morchas or people's movements alone would not fetch freedom. He was also engaged in revolutionary activities.
The British government filed many criminal cases against him and arrested him. Following the individual Satyagraha of Vinoba Bhave, Vasantdada Patil became a Satyagrahi. After independence, Vasantdada became Chief Minister of Maharashtra 3 times between 1976 and 1985. We salute the great nationalist.
चल पड़े जिधर दो डगमग में, चल पड़े कोटि पग उसी ओर, पड़ गई जिधर भी एक दृष्टि, गड़ गए कोटि दृग उसी ओर.
We also remember freedom fighter and poet Sohan Lal Dwivedi, who died on the 1st of March 1988. Considered as a national poet, he was deeply influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. Sohan Lal was born on 22nd February 1906 in Fatehpur, Uttar Pradesh. He is known for his patriotic poems, including Yugavatar Gandhi.
जिसके सिर पर निज धरा हाथ, उसके शिर रक्षक कोटि हाथ. जिस पर निज मस्तक झुका दिया, झुक गए उसी पर कोटि माथ. तुम बोल उठे युग बोल उठा, तुम मौन बने युग मौन बना. कुछ कर्म तुम्हारे संचित कर, युग कर्म जगा युग धर्म तना.
युग परिवर्तक युग संस्थापक, युग संचालक हे युगाधार. युग निर्माता युग मूर्ति तुम्हें, युग युग तक युग का नमस्कार. दृढ़ चरण सुदृढ़ कर संपुट से, तुम काल चक्र की चाल रोक. नित महाकाल की छाती पर, लिखते करुणा के पुण्य श्लोक. हे युग दृष्टा, हे युग सृष्टा, पढ़ते कैसा यह मोक्ष मंत्र. इस राजतंत्र के खंडहर में, उगता अभिनव भारत स्वतंत्र.
Dwivedi was honored by the Government of India in 1970 with Padma Shri. We salute the great Indian.
We also remember freedom fighter Nihal Singh, who was deported to Andaman Islands for taking part in the First War of Indian Independence in 1857. Initially, a soldier in the Bengal Army of the English East India Company, he left his service and took part in several attacks on British establishments at different places in Bihar and Bengal.
He was caught and charged with mutiny against the British authorities and sentenced to be transported for life with labour and irons. He died in detention in Kalapani on 8th July 1859. We salute the great martyr.
We also remember nationalist Maharani Urai. She participated in the Tebaga movement and was shot dead in the police firing while raiding the Jyotidas granaries in Jalpaiguri, West Bengal. On the 1st of March 1947, we salute the brave daughter of India.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will launch a major e-governance initiative, the Electronic Bill Processing System, as part of Ease of Doing Business and Digital India ecosystem on the occasion of 46th Civil Accounts Day celebrations in New Delhi tomorrow. The Finance Minister said that in the Budget 2022-23 announcement, the e-bill system will be implemented across all central ministries and departments. It said this will be a further step to enhance transparency, efficiency and faceless paperless payment system. The Minister said that suppliers and contractors will now be able to submit their claim online, which will be trackable on a real-time basis.
The Finance Ministry said that more than 1,33,000 crore rupees gross GST revenue was collected during the month of February. It said the collection of revenues for the month of February this year is 18% higher than the GST revenues in the same month last year and 26% higher than the GST revenues in February 2020. The ministry said that the GST collection has crossed 1,30,000 crore mark for the fifth time so far. Mahashivrathi is being celebrated across the country today. Devotees worship Lord Shiv, the destroyer of evil, on the occasion. In Uttar Pradesh, a large number of people are reaching Kashi Vishwanath temple in Varanasi to offer prayers. Devotees are also taking holy dip in Ganges. In Prayagraj, devotees are taking holy dip at Sangam. In the national capital, temples have been decorated and people started offering prayers since early this morning. Long queues of devotees are being witnessed at most of the Lord Shiv temples in Delhi. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has greeted people on the occasion of Mahashivrathi. In a tweet, the Vice President said Mahashivrathi is celebrated with great fervour and zeal across the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has conveyed best wishes to people on the auspicious occasion of Mahashivrathi. In a tweet, the Prime Minister hoped that Lord Mahadev will bless everyone. Home Minister Amit Shah has greeted countrymen on the auspicious occasion of Mahashivrathi.
In shooting, Saurabh Chaudhary today clinched India's first gold medal at the ongoing International Sports Federation World Cup in Cairo, Egypt. The 19-year-old Indian defeated Michael Schold of Germany 16-6 in the gold medal match of the men's 10-meter air pistol event. Russian Artem Chernosov grabbed a bronze medal. Yesterday, India's Shreya Agrawal narrowly missed out on a place in the semi-finals of the World Cup's 10-meter air rifle event. Shreya shot a total of 629.3, which was 0.1 less than 8th semi-finalist Esther Meszaros of Hungary.
In Australia, tens of thousands of people had been ordered to evacuate their homes by today, and many more had been told to prepare to flee as parts of the country's southeast coast are inundated by the worst flooding in decades. Scores of residents spent hours trapped on their roofs by a fast-rising river in the town of Lismore in northern New South Wales state. New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet said in Sydney that there had been 1,000 rescues and 40,000 people had been ordered to evacuate.
And now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi is likely to have generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Temperature will vary between 10 and 28 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature will be 19 degrees while the maximum is expected to be around 34 degrees. Chennai is likely to have partly cloudy sky. Temperature will vary between 23 and 32 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature will be 19 and the maximum will be around 32 degrees Celsius. Srinagar will have generally cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 3 and 11 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The minimum temperature will be 12 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 22 degrees. Leh is likely to have partly cloudy sky. The minimum and the maximum temperature will hover between -9 and 3 degrees Celsius. Gilgit will have partly cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 6 and 18 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad will have partly cloudy sky, becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. Visakhapatnam will have partly cloudy sky with haze. Hyderabad will have fog in the morning and mainly clear sky later. Temperature will hover between 20 and 35 degrees Celsius. And Bengaluru will have fog in the morning and mainly clear sky later. The minimum temperature will be 18 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 30 degrees. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a high-level meeting on Ukraine situation. 9th Operation Ganga flight reaches New Delhi from Bucharest, Romania. An Indian student killed in shelling in Kharkiv, Ukraine this morning. External Affairs Ministry conveys condolence to the family. Government issues fresh advisory for Indians to leave Kyiv urgently. Union Minister General V.K. Singh reaches Poland to aid the evacuation of Indian citizens in Ukraine. In Uttar Pradesh, campaigning for the 6th phase of assembly elections ends voting on the 3rd of March. In Manipur, electioneering in full swing for the last phase of assembly elections on the 5th of March. Government invites applications for the National Startup Awards 2022 across 17 sectors and 7 special categories. Mahashivrathi is being celebrated across the country with religious fervour. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greet the people on the occasion. And in shooting, Saurav Chaudhary clinches India's first gold medal at the ongoing International Sports Federation World Cup in Cairo. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.